Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a market that is quite literally the backbone of global trade.
Hmm.
Yet it often, sails under the radar. We're talking about the global dry bulk shipping market.
Right. The silent engine, as you might call it.
Exactly. It moves the essential unpackaged raw materials that power our world. Think iron ore for cities, grains for food, coal for industry.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is just how foundational it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the flashy container ships you always hear about,
No.
but without these huge vessels carrying bulk cargo, well, global logistics, especially for basic goods, would just grind to a halt.
Yeah.
You have to picture these aren't typical container ships.
Yeah.
We're talking specialized bulk carriers, like Capsize for ore, Panamax often for grains, very specific designs.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to really dive deep into this significant growth trajectory of this vital market. We're using insights from Cognitive Market Research's latest findings.
And the growth numbers are pretty impressive.
They really are. The global market climbed from around, $149 billion in 2021
Yeah, about that.
to a substantial $175 billion estimated for 2025.
And if you look further out, the projection takes it even higher.
Yeah.
It's anticipated to hit something like $241 billion by 2033,
Wow.
which reflects a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of about 4.1%.
Okay, so 4.1%, that's not just a little bump. That feels like a really sustained, powerful upward trend.
It definitely suggests consistent demand. Yeah.
So what does this sustained expansion really tell us? And maybe more importantly, where is this growth most concentrated? That's what we want to unpack, sort of region by region, see where the big shifts and opportunities are.
Sounds good. Where should we start? North America.
Yeah, let's start there, North America.
Okay, so North America's dry bulk market, it shows really consistent strength. The projection is a climb from roughly $42 billion back in 2021
Right.
to over $63 billion by 2033.
That's a big jump.
It is. And it's not just like general growth. It seems largely driven by the United States. Its huge import and export needs. Think industrial production inputs, agricultural exports.
That makes a lot of sense. Are we seeing, specific sectors or maybe big infrastructure projects in the U.S. that are really underpinning this demand beyond just the raw number?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the sheer scale of U.S. manufacturing. Plus, any infrastructure development needs steel, cement, other bulk materials.
Right.
And its role as a massive global food producer exporting grains, for instance. All of that needs efficient dry bulk shipping.
And it's not just the U.S., presumably.
No, definitely not. Canada and Mexico are significant contributors too. Canada, obviously, with its natural resource exports, grains, minerals, that sort of thing. And Mexico's growing industrial base means it's demanding more imports as well. So the whole region is quite active.
Okay, let's hop across the Atlantic then. Europe, also looking at solid expansion, right? Expected to grow from about $31 billion in 2021 to over $47 billion by 2033.
Yeah, solid is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Really speaks to the continent's enduring industrial demand. Germany and the UK, they tend to lead the charge there.
Okay.
Strong internal consumption, big manufacturing needs. But it's broader than that. France, Italy, Spain, even Russia showing significant contributions.
So it's pretty widespread.
Exactly. It demonstrates a really resilient demand for raw materials across Europe's major economies for everything from construction to various manufacturing sectors.
All right, now for the region that, looks like the real powerhouse here, maybe the most dynamic, Asia Pacific.
Yes.
This is where we see some truly explosive growth.
Right.
The market revenue, already the largest globally, is projected to jump from nearly $57 billion in 2021
Huge number already.
to a massive $98.6 billion by 2033. That's just a phenomenal surge.
It really is the center of gravity for the dry bulk world, and for good reason.
Yeah.
China, as you'd probably guess, leads this region.
No surprise there.
But what's fascinating about China's leap, I think, isn't just the scale. It's the sort of dual engine driving it. There's the insatiable demand for raw materials, iron ore, coal, to fuel its industries and cities.
Right, the import side.
Exactly. And its role as the world's factory, shipping finished goods out, which often involves precursor materials coming in via bulk. It creates this powerful two-way street for dry bulk commodities.
So it's the whole cycle: imports, feeding production, and then related shipping needs. And India looks like a real rising star here too, set to more than double its market size.
Precisely. India's rapid industrialization, its urbanization, is fueling massive demand for everything. Coal for energy, cement for infrastructure, you name it.
And beyond those two giants?
Well, Japan, South Korea, Australia, they also hold significant shares.
Yeah.
They contribute hugely to the region's overall economic dynamism and its deep reliance on global trade routes for commodities.
Okay.
And don't forget Singapore and other Southeast Asian nations. They're rapidly increasing their footprint both as consumers and as really important transshipment hubs. Got it. Okay, let's shift focus down to South America. A smaller market overall compared to Asia Pacific, but still set for pretty substantial growth, rising from nearly $9 billion in 2021 to over $15 billion by 2033. What's the story there?
Brazil. Brazil is undoubtedly the top performer in South America. It's expected to nearly double its market size.
And that makes perfect sense, right? Given its huge agricultural output and mineral exports.
Exactly. Soybeans, corn, massive amounts, and then enormous mineral exports, especially iron ore. Brazil is just a crucial global supplier of these essential bulk commodities.
So Brazil's growth is directly feeding demand in places like China and Europe we just talked about.
Precisely. It's all interconnected. And of course, other countries like Argentina, Colombia, Chile, Peru, they also contribute significantly, often through their own agricultural and mineral exports. The whole region is a vital source of raw materials, powering global industries, feeding populations. Okay. Moving on to the Middle East, the dry bulk shipping market there was already at $6.4 billion in 2021, projected to grow to over $10.6 billion by 2033. What's driving that expansion, especially given the region's, unique geography?
Well, the Middle East is pivotal, mainly because of its strategic location for shipping lanes. Think Suez Canal.
Right.
That makes Egypt a really key player in just the movement of dry bulk, the transit aspect.
Right.
But beyond transit, countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, they're undertaking these massive infrastructure projects.
Diversification efforts too, right?
Exactly. Diversifying their economies. And that drives up demand for construction materials, other bulk imports. Turkey also stands out as a pretty significant industrial player in that region.
Okay, interesting. Finally, let's turn to Africa, also on the move, growing from roughly $3.7 billion in 2021 to over $6 billion by 2033. What specific commodities or developments are contributing to Africa's emerging role here?
South Africa leads the way here, largely driven by its significant mining operations, minerals, coal, and it has well-established ports for exporting those. Nigeria, too, shows strong growth. That seems linked to its own resource base and, its burgeoning economy.
So growth across the continent.
Yeah, the consistent growth across Africa, even if starting from a smaller base, it really underscores its increasing importance, both as a source of raw materials for global markets and also as a continent with growing internal demand for development itself.
So wrapping this all up, what does it really mean for us, for you listening? We've seen this really consistent, robust story of growth pretty much across all regions in the dry bulk shipping market, right from 2021 through the projections to 2033.
Yeah, it's a narrative of sustained foundational expansion.
It really reinforces how absolutely fundamental this sector is, doesn't it?
Totally. It's fundamental to global commerce, to the movement of goods that impact all of us every single day, even if, we don't always see those massive ships out on the ocean.
Right, the silent engine we started with.
Exactly. It's an unseen but absolutely critical part of our interconnected world, silently enabling everything from, the food on our tables to the buildings we live and work in.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with, building on all this data. Considering this consistent, pretty substantial growth projected for the global dry bulk shipping market, what broader implications does this have? How should we think about global supply chains, about resource accessibility, the distribution of essential commodities in the coming decade?
Yeah, what does this sustained expansion really tell us about the future interconnectedness of the world?
Something to mull over until our next deep dive.
Welcome, curious minds, to The Deep Dive. Ever stop and think about the invisible giants out there, the ones moving trillions of dollars in goods across our oceans, every single day?
It's kind of mind-boggling when you picture it.
Right. We're talking about the absolute bedrock of our industrial world. The raw materials building our cities, the food feeding our families.
Yeah, these aren't just ships. They're the engines, really. Silent, powerful engines driving global trade.
Constantly moving, shaping economies in ways most of us, we never really see it happening.
Out of sight, out of mind, often.
So today, we're diving deep, right into the dry bulk shipping market.
A fascinating area.
Totally. And this isn't just about, big boats. It's about understanding this lifeline for economies all over the world.
Absolutely.
We'll be covering everything, essential stuff like coal and iron, or vital for industry, for building things.
And the agricultural side, too. Grains, fertilizers.
Exactly. Stuff that literally feeds people. So, all right, let's unpack this. Let's take a journey into the growth, the innovation, the sustainability side of things in this critical market.
Yeah.
And, of course, the challenges it's facing.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how dynamic it is, despite the just colossal scale.
Right.
It's this incredibly complex ecosystem, always reacting to global economic shifts, new tech. It's like watching this giant, intricate dance out on the high seas.
That's a great way to put it, a complex dance. And to help us navigate it, our insights today, they come from the latest report by Cognitive Market Research.
Good stuff there.
Yeah. So let's jump in. Let's look at the powerful currents pushing this whole industry forward. What are the sort of key drivers really putting dry bulk shipping into overdrive right now?
Well, the number one engine, no doubt about it, is the rising demand for raw materials, especially in emerging economies.
Okay, like where?
Think India, China, Brazil, Indonesia. These places are just exploding with infrastructure development, industrial expansion.
Right.
And you have to think, every new skyscraper going up in Mumbai or, say, an industrial park in Indonesia, that's not just a building.
No.
It's a direct signal for huge, huge volumes of basic materials. Coal for power, iron ore for steel, bauxite for aluminum.
The real foundational stuff.
Exactly. So the urbanization, the construction booms there, they aren't just pushing dry bulk shipping into higher gear. They're demanding like whole new levels of efficiency.
And it's not just building materials, right? You mentioned food earlier.
Yeah.
Feeding these growing populations is also massive.
Oh, absolutely crucial. The growth in global agricultural trade. That's another monumental driver.
So where's that coming from?
You've got your agricultural powerhouses, the U.S., Brazil, Russia, Argentina. They're seriously ramping up grain exports. And these shipments are just vital for feeding rising populations, particularly across Asia and Africa.
Yeah.
And then you have the seasonal harvests, the regional, supply-demand shifts. It means those agri-bulk carriers are just constantly moving. It's like a nonstop global food conveyor belt.
An endless conveyor belt.
Pretty much. And to keep up with all that demand, both industrial and agricultural, we're seeing a really profound modernization of the fleet itself.
Okay, modernization how? Just newer ships?
Well, yes, newer ships, but specifically owners are upgrading to much more fuel-efficient vessels. That's key.
For emissions.
Exactly. To align with stricter international emission rules like the IMO 2020 sulfur cap. That was a big one, limiting sulfur in fuel.
Right, I remember that.
But it's more than just fuel. We're also seeing this powerful integration of digital tools.
Okay, like what kind of tech?
Everything from real-time fleet tracking, AI-driven logistics helping optimize routes, even predictive maintenance, stuff that can flag potential problems before they actually happen.
Smart, so less downtime.
Precisely. These innovations, they dramatically improve turnaround times, boost overall operational efficiency, and, ultimately profitability. It's a whole digital transformation happening at sea.
So, okay, the engines are roaring, they're getting smarter, more efficient, but it can't all be smooth sailing, can it?
Definitely not.
Every industry has its headwinds. And the dry bulk market, it sounds like it has some pretty big hurdles. What are the major challenges that ship owners, operators are really grappling with?
Well, probably the biggest restraint, and honestly the most stressful for anyone operating in the space, is the fluctuation in freight rates. It's notorious.
Meaning the price to ship stuff.
Exactly. This market is incredibly cyclical. I mean, we're talking freight rates swinging wildly, sometimes up hundreds of %, sometimes crashing down to where you can barely break even.
Wow. What causes such big swings?
It can be massive global economic trends, unexpected geopolitical tensions, or sometimes just simple supply-demand mismatches within the shipping industry itself.
So unpredictable.
Very. And when demand suddenly drops, or maybe the fleet grows too fast and you get overcapacity, profits can just evaporate, vanish. And that makes planning long-term investments incredibly risky. A huge gamble.
Yeah, that volatility sounds like a nightmare for planning. And it's not just the market waves, right? You mentioned regulations earlier. They're a big factor, too, hitting the bottom line.
Oh, a huge factor. Those stringent environmental regulations, they're a monumental challenge.
You mentioned IMO 2020, the sulfur cap. What else?
Well, beyond the sulfur cap, you've got these really ambitious global decarbonization goals. They're forcing ship owners to make some tough choices.
Such as?
Either you retrofit older vessels with scrubbers, those systems that clean exhaust gases so you can still use cheaper high sulfur fuel,
Right.
or you switch to more expensive low sulfur fuels. Or the big step, you invest in brand new eco-friendly ships, maybe run on LNG or explore other propulsion methods.
Those sound like massive investments.
They are huge capital expenditures, and for the smaller operators, it can feel almost existential, like a real threat to their business.
So even if you manage all the volatile rates, the new regulations, maybe you even bought a fancy new eco ship, doesn't help much if it's just stuck waiting outside a port,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. That's where the physical bottlenecks come in.
Tell me about those. Port congestion, infrastructure issues.
Precisely. And these can be real profit killers. It's especially common in many developing regions. You might have limited port capacity, maybe labor shortages, inefficient cargo
So
handling.
ships just sit there.
They end up waiting, sometimes for days, sometimes even weeks, extended wait times. And then throw in seasonal weather monsoons, cyclones that can shut down ports entirely.
Oof.
Yeah, it just makes everything worse. Reduces vessel availability, hits profitability directly. It's this domino effect that can ripple right across the whole supply chain.
Okay, so we've got these powerful drivers, demand, modernization, and these significant hurdles, volatile race, regulations, bottlenecks. But maybe the most interesting part is how the industry is, well, adapting, changing.
That's right. It's not static. If we connect this to the bigger picture, that transformation is the real story.
So what does that transformation look like? What are the key trends shaping the future?
Well, one major trend we're seeing is an increase in the scrapping of older vessels, aging ships.
Okay, why now?
Mostly because of those tightening emissions standards we talked about, plus rising maintenance costs for older ships. It just becomes uneconomical to keep them running.
Makes sense.
So owners make the call, they decommission them, and this isn't just, clearing out old metal. It actually has positive effects.
Like what?
It helps reduce that oversupply problem in the market. It improves the overall efficiency and the average age of the global fleet. And it can even help stabilize those crazy freight rates a bit.
Ah, a self-correction mechanism almost.
Sort of, yeah. A natural, maybe sometimes painful, but necessary self-correction.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And related to getting rid of the old, you mentioned sustainability. There's this big push towards greener shipping.
A powerful shift, yes.
Yeah.
And genuinely exciting.
What kind of innovative tech are we actually seeing? Because it sounds like a massive undertaking.
Oh, it is monumental. But we're seeing some really interesting things being explored. LNG-fueled carriers, for starters, they cut emissions significantly.
Yeah.
Then you get into more futuristic stuff like wind-assisted propulsion systems.
Sails, basically. Modern sails.
Kind of, yeah. High-tech versions. And even carbon capture technologies, potentially right on the ship. Biofuels are also part of the conversation.
Wow. Who's driving this? Is it just regulations?
Regulations play a part, but it's also companies really focusing on their ESG goals, environmental, social governance.
Right. ESG is everywhere now.
Exactly. Meeting those goals is becoming crucial for investment, for operational strategy. So companies are investing heavily in green tech. It's moving beyond just compliance. It's becoming a competitive advantage.
And they can get funding for it?
Often, yes. There's a growing amount of environmentally focused financing available to support these kinds of investments.
Okay, and geographically, where's the center of gravity for all this? Where's the demand and maybe the innovation most concentrated?
Well, Asia-Pacific is still the undisputed epicenter of demand for dry bulk. Hands down.
Still China and India leading the charge.
Absolutely. Massive importers of those key materials, coal, iron ore. But it's broader now, too. Southeast Asia is becoming increasingly important,
How so?
both as a significant exporter of certain commodities and also as a really crucial transshipment hub, where cargo is moved from one ship to another.
Ah, okay.
And you see ongoing port expansions, big government-led infrastructure investments across that whole region. It's all reinforcing Asia-Pacific's pivotal role in the global dry bulk network. It really is the beating heart of global trade for these materials.
So wrapping this up,
Mm-hmm.
what does this all mean for you listening? We've taken this deep dive into dry bulk shipping, seeing how it's actively adapting, right?
Yeah.
Shifting trade patterns, modernizing fleets.
While navigating some really complex regulatory and logistical seas.
Exactly. It's an industry that, most of us don't see day to day, but it fundamentally underpins our entire global economy.
It's truly steering towards a future that looks, well, leaner, greener, and definitely more tech-driven.
Yeah. Optimizing every mile, every drop of fuel, every port call.
That's the goal.
So as we think about that drive, leaner, greener, more tech in dry bulk shipping, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How might this push for efficiency and sustainability in moving stuff around the globe? How might that indirectly reshape the actual products we end up consuming? And maybe even the whole way global trade works in the coming decades.
That's a fascinating question.
Will that lower carbon footprint in shipping eventually lead to, say, more accessible global goods? Or is it possible the cost of this green transformation? Will that ultimately change what we find on our shelves? Something to think about.